Excited to be joined today by Kedma Ough. How are you doing today, Kedma?
I am always great. Thank you for asking.
Well, thank you for coming on with me. I was really excited to talk with you. You've done so many different things: author, speaker, venture capitalist, so many things. So I really appreciate you joining me. I'm just going to go through some questions. We're going to have a conversation back and forth. I wanted to know, where were you, who you're surrounded with, what inspired you to do what you do today?
Wow. That's a tough question. I do have an MBA. I've been in the funding world for 20 years, but I will tell you what inspired me. I am a product of what I teach. So back in 2001, I had to make a very difficult decision and file bankruptcy. Not because I wasn't financially prudent. 6 months prior, I was in a relationship. We were arguing about money, and I decided to be the Good Samaritan and take all their bills and all their debts and put it in my name. 6 months later, my attorney sat me down and said, Kedma, I'm going to give you two options in how you can lead your life. Number one, you can spend the rest of your life paying off someone else's debt. Or number two, you can file bankruptcy and suffer for 7 to 10 years. I chose door number two.
Right.
And so as a result of that, I found myself in a predicament that a lot of people are, right? We go up, we go down, we go up, we go down. But through that experience, I received my first credit card for $200. I gamified it because I thought I was playing a game of Monopoly. And we all know when you play Monopoly, as long as you can get past the board and go through Go, you're going to get $200. And I spent 15 years really trying to uncover how to find money when you are not bank ready or you're not venture capital ready, and reverse engineered how to do that. And in 2019, McGraw-Hill gave me my book deal called Target Funding. And I've worked with over 10,000 entrepreneurs. But the moment I knew was when I filed bankruptcy and started playing the game differently.
Very interesting. And I read that about you on your website. So, but that's a very difficult situation, but you've turned it into good. So there you go. I love it.
Absolutely.
The next question I have for you: what are the top 3 mistakes to avoid in this whole area of finance, banking, venture capital? If you could kind of summarize.
Ooh, top 3 mistakes. Wow. That's a really good question. The first thing that comes to mind is arrogance is going to keep you from making a lot of money. So true story, years and years ago, I was working on a funding deal and I got very frustrated. I walked into my mentor's office. She was about 4'11" Ross boxer. And I was just basically mouthing off on how mad I was. And she quietly listened and said, Kedma, let me ask you a quick question. I said, sure. She said, would you rather be rich or would you rather be right?
Right.
And at the time, I was like the typical person trying to get deals, trying to pitch. I didn't have any, significant money. And I thought, I want to be rich.
Right.
He's like, good, get your ego out of the way. And so a lot of times people lose opportunity to get deals, and it has nothing to do with their business. People want to do business with people they like. Right. And I am one of those investors that I will be straight up, Andy. If I can't see that person representing my brand, I don't want to invest in them.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's the number one. Number two, that they haven't solved a problem big enough for people to care.
Right.
I see that a lot, right? They come and they say, oh, I have a problem, but it's not big enough for us to care about. And so from a venture capital, from an investor, it's got to be worth our time and money. So that's the second one that's really big. And the third one is they just don't have the right team behind them. They're the Lone Ranger. They want to do everything on their own. They don't think it. And, that is a disadvantage against them because they miss out with amazing people that can support them. So I'd say those are the three. It's so important to have the right team behind your vision.
Great advice. I love it. So now I'm going to flip it. What are the top 3 success secrets that you can kind of advise our listeners and viewers?
God, success secrets. You know, I'm a big fan on innovation. I was a state innovation director for SBDC when I was at Mount Hood. So, you know, one of my secrets has always been study the trends, watch what's happening, pay attention to what's going on. And, you know, if you can come up with a different way of doing it, that's very powerful, very intriguing, and very inspiring. And I'm really big on that. It brings me to a quick story. One of the inventors I worked with who was frustrated with his lovely wife's long hair creating a disaster in their bathtub, right? Like clogging everything. And you know what I'm talking about, right?
I do know what you're talking about. Wife and daughter. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right. So him and his business partner came up with a solution to get rid of that. It's both basically was the dynamic drain, Everclear drain, and it allows you, it has blades built in and allows you to basically click it 2 or 3 times, no snake, no harsh chemicals, right down. And so I love ideas like that. Love it. So it's like coming up with a really cool idea, success. Number 2, skin in the game. You have to have enough skin in the game. You have to show them that you're not prepared to use their money before you're willing to use your money.
Right.
And sometimes I come up against people who say, well, I have this great idea. I just need this, that, and the other. And I'm all about proof of concept. Can you prove to me that the market really needs it? And what have you actually put in for investment? So that's another big thing for me. And then I would say maybe the third one is for success is actually ensuring that there is a big enough reach, a customer interest. And the reason this happens, Andy, is people will always come and say, what do you think, Kedma? Is this a good idea? I said, I don't know. I'm not a trucker. Why don't we ask the trucking companies? Why don't we ask people who would use it every day? Why don't we ask the tech team, right? So I'm really big in making sure that the customers see it as a value and really want to invest in it.
Right. Great. Well, you know, how can we support you?
Well, that's funny because I always say the same thing. How can I support? For me, I make it really open-ended. I work every day in financing. The easiest way to support me is if there are people listening who have really cool ideas or need financing, I would just say have them reach out directly to me. I'm happy to have a no-cost conversation, see what we can do like we've done. And if I can push people through, I will. People say, why? Well, you know, when you've hit rock bottom, it sucks. And you don't want other people going through that experience. Now I'm on the other side. So anytime I can help people get through and find what they need, it's another dopamine hit for me.
Right. So. It's great motivation. And it's so fulfilling, honestly.
It's so
when you're able to help other people, it makes you feel so much better about yourself, you know?
It's so true.
That. It's so true.
It's so true.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you what would you say as a final word of advice of navigating this whole banking, finance, venture capital world, if you had, you know, some sage advice for our viewers and listeners?
Well, I'm going to do the simple one. I mean, the simple one is, and this is a tough one, I never take advice from anyone that doesn't have the lifestyle I'm trying to achieve.
Yeah. Right.
Because advice is, you know, a dime a dozen. I want you to really pay attention on who's giving you that counsel. I love my lenders, but 9 out of 10 lenders, when you interview them behind the scenes and ask, so how many businesses have you actually built? Have you been an entrepreneur? Did you actually write a check for payroll? The answer is 9 out of 10 times that I've interviewed them. Are you crazy, Kedma? You think I'm gonna risk my salary and do that?
Right.
Right.
Bankers are against risk.
Of course. Of
Right.
course. Now I love my bankers. So anyone who's listening, I love you. But
Right.
let's just be real. Just because you're going there doesn't mean that they're entrepreneurial. And also I want to make sure that we're clear that venture capitalists and angel investors, we're all wired a little differently. So just because you get no with one organization doesn't mean another one is going to say no. I have a deal happening right now where one of my investment teams said no. I was like, this is an amazing concept. And I'm bringing them to my other investment organizations and I'm going to represent them. Mm-hmm. So don't give up just because someone says no. They may not see what you see yet.
Right. You know, a funny thing about that is a lot of times people don't know they have a problem until you introduce the fact that you could do a solution to that. And they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that existed, you know?
All the
I've
time.
seen that happen all the time throughout my career.
All the time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, I really do appreciate you coming on with me. You know, you've got such an awesome background and story, and it's inspiring. So I really do appreciate you coming